The first thing you should know about my friend Mrs. Filholm is that she's got a foul mouth. She often says things that would make a prostitute blush and a nun die of shock, which is particularly ironic because I met Mrs. Filholm when she was teaching English at my Catholic high school. Back then, I never would have guessed that Mrs. Filholm would ever be on stage telling a joke where the punchline is dick, 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 dick. Yes, that's 5 dicks, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing you should know is that Mrs. Filholm's coarse language is one of the many reasons that we're friends. Growing up with 2 brothers, I am somewhat of a connoisseur of profanity. Just ask my mother, who's been trying to have a curse-free family meal for more than 20 years. Fortunately for Mom and anyone else who's put off by the occasional F-bomb, Mrs. Filholm will be performing at Comedy Works this weekend doing a set that is squeaky clean. Not a single dick joke to be heard.
The first thing you should know about my friend Andrew is that when he left the Dollhouse last week, he was awfully flustered. He's got a lot of adulting going on these days. A lot of decisions and details and demands on his time and attention. He's ducking and diving, bobbing and weaving, kicking ass and taking names. The next thing you should know about Andrew is that he's about to turn 26. So one of the tasks on his list is securing independent health insurance. As usual, Andrew is my adulting role model, and I've got a lot of questions about premiums, deductibles, and flu shots.
Welcome to Half My Age, a weekly show in which a 25-year-old adult and a 50-year-old child help each other make sense of the world.
I know you already have your insurance.
Kind of. So you say you know I already have my insurance. I went through the whole process on the Colorado website. I signed up for a plan. And then the last note they give you is, please wait for a confirmation call from the insurance company you just signed up with. And it says if it doesn't come in, if it takes longer than 24 hours or a full business day or whatever, give them a call. And they never called, and it's been a week, and I haven't called them. So
Okay.
I don't currently have insurance, or at least I think I've got insurance, but it's not confirmed by them. So that's a small task that I've been avoiding. But it's such a pain.
Similar. And I actually applied for one thing and was told you don't qualify for that. And it was just like, I literally think I checked the wrong box. So same thing. I think I'm insured by the thing and I'm not sure. Same thing. It's a real gross task. You know what else I have to do? I have to go in person to get a new driver's license. It expired on my birthday.
Oh, are you delinquent right now? You don't.
Well, you get a 30-day grace period.
I see.
But you can't buy liquor with. I mean, technically, yes, I can't show it even at Safeway. I can't show my ID. They have to deny it because it's an expired license. Technically. So I carry my passport around. I hate the way that you're facing the wilderness and not me.
I didn't orient the tables this way.
Well, I mean, you could move. You could at least. You could. Okay.
Maybe
weird.
I'll fix it after we record today. It is a nice profile though.
Right now, it's lovely. Andrew.
The one thing, my distinctive feature in my profile, I think, is my round-shaped nose. What do you?
Round-shaped nose.
Kind of like, you know how some people have the bridge of their nose is totally flat.
Yours is completely flat. I'm looking at it right now. It's like a line. Down your face.
When I look at myself kind of out of my side eye in the mirror,
yeah,
I see a rounded nose.
All right, I'm going to take a picture of it, of what I'm seeing. You just mentioned my foul mouth. I don't think I mentioned this last time, that it happened last week at Comedy Works. There was a former student in the audience who was not expecting me, and heard the nastiest joke. And messaged me, we're sort of peripheral friends on the social media, you know what I mean? We don't, whatever.
Sure.
And so she was there, and I saw later that night, she was like, it was wonderful to see you or something. I went, oh, good golly. And then I said, oh, okay, hope I didn't shock you too much, honey. And she said that she had already texted another former teacher. I'm not going to mention the name, but I was like, oh, please don't tell Mr. So-and-so. Please. Okay. All right. Well, so it happened. And the funny thing was, I had just literally said earlier that night, I said, one of these days, I'm going to run into one of my former students out here. And I thought it would be more like somebody who's trying open mic comedy, or somebody who's at a bar and, sort of recognizes me. I look a lot different than when I taught at Mullen High School. I really do. I didn't wear glasses then. My hair was long. So I think it's possible that students might recognize me just on the street.
You think it's possible? More like you hope.
Yeah, kind of. Anyway, so that happened. She survived. I'm sure it's fine. And then she did notice my whatever announcement for the clean comedy competition. And she said, maybe I'll bring my Mormon husband. And I went, oh.
Oh, that's funny.
Poor thing. Okay, so there you go. I don't think that any of my students who had me in the classroom will be surprised. It's just the volume turned up on who you knew Mrs. Filholm always was. But I certainly wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't telling those jokes in the classroom or on the dais at that time either. I mean, this is the new, I had teenagers in the house. I wouldn't have been telling these jokes back then. Now I can. I have freedom.
It is kind of funny. I mentioned how my mother has been trying for 20 years to have a curse-free meal, and I don't think we've accomplished it yet.
Nope.
But I often wonder how much of the act of parenting is an act. Like, they really probably couldn't care less about the occasional F-bomb. It just probably wears on you, and you live in fear that your children are going to go out in the world and do this for other people.
Absolutely.
But personally, I'm sure that my mother and my father are probably less bothered by it than they are just annoyed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. You're right. How much of the act of parenting is an act? A heck of a lot of it. Oh, yeah. And same with teaching. Yeah. A heck of a lot of it is an act. And of course, well, we used to say, and it became kind of true, that my kids would say drop F-bombs at the table, which, as you have seen, they certainly did. Oh, my God. They would walk into the kitchen and say, where's my jacket at? And I would scold them. We don't use that kind of language. But if they came in and said, where's my effing jacket? I would be like, okay, honey, can you just remember not to use that word around other adults? But I do think that's true. We don't really so much care as a matter of character. Foul words are funny, but they're not appropriate. And if you can only use foul words, it's a real handicap. So being able to code switch and know when to use it. Oh, gosh, when my boys were like 10 years old, I know for a fact that was like an activity in our basement, like at a sleepover for a birthday, was like cussing.
Yeah, who can come up with the most absurd, most foul,
and just being like, "This is free space down here. We can cuss." And we would hear them. I remember that, and like certain boys who really had more, strict parents in terms of that than we. Whatever. I just remember, and like you'd see the looks, like, did I just say that word? Like letting it fly for the first time in front of other people in the safety of a basement. And we felt that was a very healthy way to express themselves, and we made it very clear: you don't use those words at school, at church, in front of your grandparents or your priest or your teachers. It's the same with you take your hat off when you go in and you open the door for other people. There are like politesse that you have to teach your children, and a heck of a lot of that is about an act.
Sorry, there are what that you have to teach your children?
I said that's politesse. That's like politeness.
That's politeness without the N.
Okay. Kind of. Yep.
I've never heard the word politesse.
You have
before. Because
you know the song "Sympathy for the Devil" by the Rolling Stones.
It's in there?
Yeah.
Huh. The more you know.
I think I'm using it correctly, Andrew. Anyway, civilization. You're trying to impress upon your children that it's important to be civilized and be able to get along in the world like that, even though, well, whatever. Little manners matter. But manners matter, but dick jokes are also very funny. There you have it.
This is real-time follow-up from Merriam-Webster.
Uh-huh.
It's the formal version of politeness.
Okay.
That's interesting. I did not know there was a formal version. You would think that politeness on its own is formal.
I know. Isn't that funny?
Huh.
That's a funny little way to describe it, really. I would like to know the etymology there. Not enough to look it up. But yeah, okay, so I used it right. That's right. You try to teach your children at least the norms of society so that they can sit at a dinner table, use the right fork, and not say the F word. But boy, when you know what? I've been recording my audiobook and I've been reading my own stuff.
How's that going?
It's good. But I've been reading my own stuff out loud and really been reminded about what an awesome book that is, quite frankly. But when I have a chapter on like how to get kids to talk and the importance of family dinner is part of that. And I say for parents, it is important. You have to keep gathering with your kids and forcing them to like make polite conversation over the dinner table. The good news is when they're teenagers, pizza counts, it doesn't have to be a big to-do every night because we all get overwhelmed and it's hard to schedule family dinner, but make no mistake, those are important things to drill into your kids again and again. And getting them to talk, one of the things, because it's a big question, like how do you get teenagers to talk? They shut up, they get very sullen and they don't want to have any influence from us or on us. They would really prefer to let the world know they have no family at all. But one of the ways to get them to talk is to relax your standards, is to know they're going to say, "D's nuts" at the table. And sometimes that's just okay. You have to relax your standards. They're going to spout nonsense. They're going to say stupid stuff. Let them, because if you're correcting them all the time, they will stop talking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of relax your standards and accept imperfection, and your teenagers will maybe keep talking to you.
It is funny. I don't miss being a teenager, and I don't look forward to having a teenager. That seems like one of the dark points of parenthood.
I can't wait for you to have teenagers.
We've got lots of friends with young babies, and they're just so taken by how cute their baby is.
So cute.
I've spent the last, I don't know, how long have we been talking? For 8 or 9 years about how teenagers suck. Mm-hmm. And I can only look at these young parents thinking, "Ooh,
you should give them a copy of my book," right? I mean, really, just be prepared. I know you really
probably should.
You have a cynical perspective on that. I would say you have the wise perspective, and you will be the one who helps all of your friends when that happens. You'll be a great parent because of it. You'll be a great parent thanks to me. I'm kidding. You will be a great parent thanks to Lisa and Jamie Bridges. Just saying. Shout out.
This must be the Andrew's Parents episode.
Well, why wouldn't it be? They're fantastic. Look what they did. Look what they raised. All right, what do we got? I got a in my roof. What do you have?
Before we get to new stuff, I've got tons of follow-up. First of all, I want to know about your mice. Have they been around?
I haven't seen a single mouse.
Perfect. So the holes are plugged, and anything that was in the house previously should be dead.
Should be dead, gone. I don't even care at this point. It's magical thinking. As I said, I haven't seen a mouse, so in my mind, there are no mice. And good to go with that. Actually, you know what? Last night, in the past couple of days, I made the crack pretzels, those spicy pretzels that George likes. Mm-hmm. Made a bunch of those, and I put them in bags, and they've been sitting on the kitchen counter, and no mice have, a couple weeks ago, that would have been a party. And so I'm pretty sure the mice are out of my house. Okay, that's follow-up. I'm happy to report that. I pretend that never happened. Oh.
I also want to know, and this one can be quick. Last time we talked, you told us that your father had been admitted to the ER because he attacked another patient. I say inmate, but it was really a patient.
I know. He attacked the aides, really, mostly.
Oh, yeah? Is your father adjusting to his new surroundings?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. The good news is that this place is wonderful, and they are patient and kind. It has not been a particularly smooth week because of reasons and communication between doctors and but yes, it's okay. It is a loving and supportive place, and I'm very grateful. They are saying we're not giving up on your dad. We still need to get those meds in order, and it's not perfect yet. But yeah, we're okay.
I'm glad he's in the right place.
Yep.
And I remember last time you told us that you're considering leaving a comment about the old place with some kind of organization that's responsible for investigating that stuff. Have you left a Yelp review for the old place?
No, similar to how I haven't, it's not a Yelp review, similar to how I haven't called to follow up about my own insurance, Andrew.
Yeah, that just feels like too much.
It's just a lot of gross tasks in a day. Okay, this week I got my snow tires put on, I got my oil changed, I had them look at all of the things, sure. You know what? Usually when we get my oil changed, you feel like they're always trying to upsell you. Mm-hmm. And this time I was like, yep, great, fine. If you say I need a new friggin' filter, put it on. I'm a single lady and I need this car to last a good long time. Fine, do it. I did a lot of that kind of adulting. I've had a lot of, I've been recording that audiobook. So no, answer is no. I haven't followed up with that. It's like a state board kind of thing where one would make a complaint. I probably should. Because that seemed... not great, but also I'm just so relieved that he's, in a place that loves him and it's a nice place. It reminds me of a Montessori classroom. It's like a very loving home where they have real flowers on the tables and pumpkins around because of the season. And they have a central kitchen where the aides or whatever, the staff, they're rolling out cookies and biscuits and actually cooking dinner right there for the residents. And it's a cool place, and I think they have a lot of patience. It does.
I want to be there.
I know. You know what? It is much more easy to visit and not feel crappy about it because it's just like a loving home. There's a dog there. I think I mentioned that. They also have this lovely, I've noticed it, this lovely attitude. It's probably a policy. When you come in, you're like walking into the open central living room of a house, right? It's big, but it feels like a lodge.
Sure.
And Nobody makes a great big deal about anybody coming in or out. They barely say hello, and it's very cool. I think that is like, we are all dealing with memory patients here. People just come in and out. In fact, they have the door area painted in a mural that tries to make it look less like a door.
Huh.
And last time I was there, somebody knocked on the door, and my father just went, "I'm coming, I'll get it." Like went into one of those things where he said the right thing and just started toddling toward the door, and then shook the guy's hand who was standing there to visit his grandmother. So you know what I mean? Like that can cause a lot of anxiety for memory patients, like wanting to leave and then people coming and going. And some of them I know probably pine for, my sister's not here. There's just so much bananas around that. And I just love this attitude when you come in, you know the code. If you're a family member, you just come in, real chill. Nobody goes, "Hey, how are you?" I love it. I love it. It feels like a very
that is an interesting thing. It's important that you don't disrupt the flow of things to let someone know that there's something they might be, maybe they're supposed to be doing something, or it's actually it's a really interesting way of handling things that I wouldn't consider,
I know. And also I can kind of sort of metaphorically see it as helpful for how we approach life, like on the sky, not the weather kind of thing, right? Just because something happens today, to have this attitude of like, hello, here we are. We're just the warm hearth and here we are. And if people come in and out, it doesn't bump us. We're, I'm a tree. I'm a tree.
They're a whole bunch of sea turtles.
Kinda. And I just was reading the chapter on being a tree. Do you remember that chapter? Role model for parenting. Belt. Yeah, and you especially liked it. You would use it a lot at the time, like you're a tree. And it's a good chapter. And I was explaining that what I was reading it, of course, as part of my audiobook, and just reminded of my own brilliant freaking words. But no, that idea that like all what I learned about parenting from a tree, and it's things like that, like just stand there. You can take it. You can weather the storm. You can let your kids disrupt you and your life. They can carve their initials in your tree trunk. Winds can come and storms can come. You're a tree. Just stand there and take it. Everything's gonna be fine. So that's a cool. Yeah, I like cool. The new place.
It's nice to know that. The new place is great, but also that you can find comfort in past Lisa's words.
Isn't that something? Yeah, it's funny. Not all of it. Of course, there are things that I go, oh, golly, would have changed that. To tell you the truth, as I read, there are a few things, just a few, where I change them as I'm saying them. Mostly not. Mostly I feel some kind of compulsion to keep it true to the published, word. I'm not going to update references, for example. I said something recently about the Kardashian sisters, and it's like, but right now that'd be a slightly different reference. I'm not going to update that, but there are a few turns of phrase that I just can't help myself because I go, that's janky. Why did I write it like that? But in general, no, I'm still pleased with the work. But I know that. I've been working with that work, and the clean comedy that I'm doing is right back to the funny stuff of parenting teenagers. And it's hilarious. It is. It's going to kill.
I'm excited. I think I'm going to be able to make your show.
You are? Yay!
Yeah. Well, when we get together with the whole family, with grandparents and stuff, we always eat early.
Sure.
And I think it'll be okay if I skip the dessert course.
Early bird special.
And go over to Comedy Works to see Mrs. Filholm not talk about dicks.
I'm really not talking about dicks. You can get free tickets, and I'll tell you how, because you should call and say that you're there for me. It doesn't hurt to bring.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we were at Comedy Works, you were drinking red wine like a fancy person.
I was, because it was cold. And red wine, I think, is a good cold drink.
I see. Warms you up. Well, Delaney was drinking water.
She was drinking water.
I just noticed that, and I've thought about it like 3 times since then. I was like, what's going on there? That's weird.
Nothing in particular.
Nothing at all.
I think that...
3 times.
So the thing about Delaney is she has like a 1 drink and she's content. 2 drinks and she's like, really, really feeling it.
And hungover the next day.
And I suspect we had beers at dinner.
Right? Because she gets hungover the next day. Like, it really affects her a lot. Yeah. I think she feels icky if she drinks too much and it's only a couple drinks. Yeah, okay. That's fine. I just noticed it and I don't know why. It doesn't matter at all. Okay. Other follow-up?
Have you sorted out your email issue?
Yes. I have not sorted out a different issue with my phone. But see, I don't think you can help me anymore because you don't have an iPhone. Like, it's something with my apps, and now there's this new thing. When you do an app, you have to double tap the thing on the side, and it is in error every time. I'm frustrated with my phone right now. I'm frustrated with it all. Yeah, my email seems fine. Yep.
Interesting. I know that yesterday was a big day in Apple world. This is how people will date our podcast.
Okay.
Because yesterday the 16-inch MacBook Pro was kind of quietly announced.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of big changes. The first one of which is that they've gone back to the old keyboard style. They've got scissor switches instead of butterfly switches.
Oh, golly.
So as this is just the 16-inch, they haven't. These changes haven't trickled down to our size of the MacBook Pro.
What do we have?
We have 13-inch.
Okay.
But I suspect that probably, whenever the next cycle happens, probably in spring of next year, changes will come to our MacBook Pros. Not that either you or I are in a position to upgrade our computers, but it's nice to know that they heard our feedback and they've taken it into the product design team and produced a better product with the proper keyboard.
I mean, I guess it's nice to know. What it feels like is they just reverted to an old thing, which might be great. Okay. I mean, I was just telling you, it's November. I have a little list for Black Friday. I have a couple of things that I want, and I'm just hoping that they'll go on big sale, and I'm going to, have a little list going. That was last year. We were filled with such hope. My machine is seriously just still not quite as fun. It's been serving me well, and I can't deny, what I make it do and the audio files I throw around here and the size of it's great and it's fast. I mean, I don't hate it at all. I would still prefer this to a Dell, but right?
Yeah, it's sad. It's frustrating. But it's just the thing, and we'll get past.
Yeah,
we shall overcome.
Yeah, we shall overcome. Right now, I'm just low-key. I'm hoping I can do this while we talk. This is something I have to devote some time to, which is deleting photos and videos off of my phone.
Oh, yeah? Are you out of
I have run actually out of storage space recently, and then I do these big purges, which is unusual because I have always been like, whatever, I have so much storage on my phone. It's because I have so much video of myself and others doing comedy, and that's number one, just delete, delete, delete. But it's like I have to sit here and do it on purpose.
Do you remember? Sorry, this is a little bit of a subject change. Do you remember in the early days of Clay Beach when I would come over to your house and we'd just hang out on the back porch? You'd throw pottery and I would bask in the sun.
Yep.
And we'd talk about dumb things related to my classmates.
Yep.
And there were certain classmates who were super present on Instagram, and we were always wondering aloud, who is taking these pictures? The other day, you posted a promotional photo for your clean comedy thing of you with a scrub brush, seemingly wearing no clothes
in the shower.
In the shower type setting.
It was funny, huh?
And I was like, who is taking these photos?
I know, isn't that funny?
Who's taking them?
Me.
Do you have a a tripod set up or something?
I do have a tripod. I have a little selfie taking tripod. I mean, whatever, selfie stick, tripod. But that one right there, I just didn't even use it. I held out my arm and took the picture in my bathroom.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I know, that was funny, right? And those look like I'm in the shower, but those are dish soap bubbles because the shower bubbles weren't staying. And I tried. It was very fun. It was very much like the art of deception and showmanship, like the art of performance, because first I put a mask on. I wanted to do that picture like clean comedy. I have a face mask on, cold cream on my face or something. Real face mask didn't photograph well. I tried mayonnaise. I actually put mayonnaise all over my face, which isn't bad for your skin, but I did that, didn't photograph well, so I went, okay, we're not doing that, put on makeup, tried real soap bubbles, tried shaving cream, dish soap bubble,
That's so funny.
And then reached out and took that picture of myself just with an arm in front of me real fast.
I don't want to be the one to say it, but I know all of our listeners are thinking it. How much time do you have on your hands right now, Mrs. Filholm?
I did that. I wanted to do a promo shot for the Clean Comedy Search because I do want people to come. And I literally, my girlfriends will confirm this. That was a day that I got up and couldn't sleep at 6 a.m. I think it was last Saturday. Just couldn't sleep and went, I'll just do it right now. So I spent half an hour doing that. Seems like a good... If I had done a real photo shoot with somebody else here, it would have taken a heck of a lot longer, and it was worth it. It's a cool shot.
It's so funny. Half an hour at 6 a.m. rubbing mayonnaise on your face.
Rubbing mayonnaise on my face because that's what you do for your art. I mean, that's the conceit of theater, right? It's the conceit. Those are just really soap bubbles from dish soap because they lasted longer. That's very funny. And that, whatever. What's wrong with that? That's cute. It's a sweet shot. It's adorable. I look adorable. I am so far back in my archives of my photos that I'm deleting, just like, because you know me, I won't just take one picture of something. I'll take several. I mean, it's weird because now I'm back to like, I was very, very married and here's my family. Aw, back in the day. Ugh, and there's pictures of my old job. That was like trauma. Okay. Do we have other follow-up, Andrew?
No, I think at this stage in the show, we can move on to real topics, whatever those may be.
I got one. You got one?
No, I don't.
Well, this is supposed to be intergenerational wisdom, and it seems to me right now, in the zeitgeist, the number one intergenerational issue is okay boomer.
Yeah, you sent me a note and you said you wanted to talk about okay boomer, to which I responded, okay boomer. Mm-hmm. And then you yelled at me over Slack. You said, I'm not a boomer,
I'm not a fucking boomer. I'm Gen X. I'm solid Gen X.
Do you know the funny thing is, to us young folks,
I know,
all you generations look the same.
Yeah, I know.
And you're, to be fair, we talked about it
you.
previously. Mm-hmm. You are not that far away date-wise from being a boomer. Like, you missed the cutoff by 1 or 2 years, I think.
Yeah, kind of. Except that I am so solidly Gen X. But you're right. And my parents are sort of technically boomers, but really, when we looked at that chart of traits a while ago, mm-hmm. they were much more in that kind of Victorian or whatever it was, the generation before. Okay, yeah, it doesn't matter. What is funny about okay boomer? Do you have any thoughts on that?
What is funny about okay boomer? I not particularly growing up with the baby boomer term. Mm-hmm. The word is funny, boomer in itself. Mm-hmm. But it's also, it's dismissive. It's mm-hmm. everything that the boomer generation should hate about our millennial generation is that it's dismissive, it's rude, mm-hmm. It's irreverent, I suppose.
And I think it's very funny. Yeah, it's very much like whatevs. Right, it's perfect. And it's very funny, and I get it. It is so appropriate from the younger generation. Don't trust anyone over 30 was the cry back in the day, right? It's exactly that is all it is. But the funny part, right, is the boomer response. That's what the millennials and the Gen Z are finding so funny, is the crazy boomer response, right? And such an overreaction. I find that very, very funny. Very funny. I would expect nothing else from the younger generation to have a dismissive middle finger, some attitude towards their elders who are telling them, right? It's so totally adolescent. It's so totally the right thing for the younger generation to go, you know what? Older generation, you with your advice for us about DTT, you've ruined the planet for us. You've killed the turtles. You don't understand global warming, which you caused. Shut the fuck up. That's what it is, right? Mm-hmm. Right? That's what it is. It seems absolutely appropriate. And I think it's funny. What I think is funny is the older generation's response.
There are some really great, I don't know, maybe they're like web comics about this, where it's like, parents complain that I'm living in their basement, but they didn't have to pay for college. And, mm-hmm. It's interesting to see how my generation has framed an older generation. Yeah. And I didn't grow up then. I grew up now. I don't think I've had nearly as hard a time at life as my peers seem to be having in terms of student loan debt and concern about the environment and whatever. To me,
you don't give a shit about turtles or straws. So you are a boomer.
That's right. I'm in this intergenerational podcast. We've always joked I am the old one.
Right. It's kind of true because I'm sitting here going, "What do you mean?" Right.
You're over there riding or dying.
Yeah, I sure am, Andrew. I went out last night to do comedy at a show that started past 11 o'clock at night. I had not left my house the rest of the day. I was locked inside my studio, listening to the sound of my own voice, going ham on recording my audiobook. Very proud of myself, very proud of my discipline. But, oh my God, I have to be around some people. But then I'm out at night at 11:30 at night. I'm the only girl in the room. So yeah, that's boomer, I guess. See, that's our... No, I think that the thing that the young generation is complaining about is, in general, people who sort of say, what's wrong with kids these days. And it's the older generation being like the Charlie Brown parent, going, you have no idea. I walked 3 miles uphill both ways to school, like trying to give them wisdom and trying to give them any kind of advice and saying, tattoos in the workplace, burr, burr, burr. And then the younger generation going, shut up. That's all it is. What I think is funny, and we've been the older generation calling them snowflakes. And then what is funny to the millennials now, of course, is that there has been this backlash against it. What was it? Some guy, did you look it up? It's some dummy, but he called it the N-word. Like boomer. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, okay. No, I looked that up. No. The response, the funny part of it. Yeah. The millennial thing that they're doing, the Gen Z people like making boomer t-shirts and stuff. I find it clever. I find it delightful.
You said Gen Z, and I'm a Gen Yer. I think millennials are Gen Y. Is this going on with people my age and a little bit older? Or is it going on? Who are the primary proponents? Is it the youngest people, the kids who are in high school right now?
Yeah.
So that would be Gen Z. It's not us millennials. We're just stuck in the middle of this fight between the younger people and the older people.
It says literally millennials and Gen Z react to okay boomer memes. I mean, that, like, in my mind, it's kind of millennials and Gen Z, so people younger than I, versus Gen X and boomers. And they're using the word boomer, like you said, is funnier than Gen X. And Gen X, we are the smallest generation, and we are ineffective. Okay. The problem with okay boomer.
I think it's funny. And
AARP responded to it.
I get a little, my skin starts to crawl when someone says these days, or whenever someone starts and says that things are different or worse today than they used to be, or the reverse, which is that things are so much worse back then than they are today.
Yeah.
Because I have this ingrained, like, I know this to be true in my heart, that nothing in the world has changed in terms of badness, right? Mm-hmm. The kids always sucked and the old people always hated them. And that's been true of every generation that's ever lived. And it's just like a little grading thing. It's like, no, that's not it. And people complain that they often talk about this in terms of politics, and it's worse than it's ever been. And there used to be times when people would get into fistfights and brawls on the floor of the Senate, and it's been a long time since we had one of those. It's so funny to me that there's this perception that things are any different than they used to be.
This is exactly my point about it and why I wanted to talk about it and find it so fascinating. And it is an intergenerational conversation. I completely agree. And the one thing I will never do, and I consider myself a teen whisperer and an expert on parenting and all of this shit, I caution people, never do that. Never say kids today. Don't come at it, because you're, my God, exactly right. It is as old as time. And the friction between the generations should be literally nothing new. It's expected. So I totally agree with you. You asked about who's doing this. I'm looking at the New York Times, which with this awesome headline, okay boomer marks the end of friendly generational relations. Now it's war. Gen Z has finally snapped over climate change and financial inequality. Okay, and it looks here like the president or whomever, spokesperson, somebody from AARP, which I have just joined at age 50, right?
Very nice.
She responded like, okay, millennials, but we have all the money. It's so dumb. It's so dumb to me. It's actually dumb. But you asked about who is, like, what, where the teams lie, if you were to choose sides, who would be doing this? It's literally TikTok videos. It's 17-year-olds, I think, and 19-year-olds making the merch that has gone viral.
The meme producers.
Yeah.
It's the people who are right in the thick of it, probably high school age kids, high school and college.
I think it's literally high school and early college age kids. And I love them. You know how much I love it. I love that they have done, you
like sassy, you like all that.
I like merch. I mean, I like the guy who's like, somebody here said, well, I noticed there wasn't any rainbow. Oh yeah, here it is. It's a 19-year-old kid. He's selling a slew of rainbow OK Boomer products. I hadn't seen any gay stuff for OK Boomer, so I just chose every product that I could find in case anyone wanted it. Good for you, son. I mean, like, that's amazing. There's a guy who's 17-year-old who reimagines famous logos for companies like FedEx, Budweiser, Google, and KFC with the catchphrase. It's very funny. Okay. But I want to find. Yeah, have you heard the song about it? Okay, Andrew.
You are so much more involved in this than I am.
I asked you. I gave you several days, and I said I did some research. I prepared for a freaking topic on the show because it came to my attention, and I found it very funny. And literally, it feels like the most important intergenerational thing right now. And so I read a couple articles, Andrew. I wish you could prepare for the show sometime.
I'm sorry. I came prepared with Followup today.
That's great.
Usually.
I wish I could find this thing that there literally is somebody who is calling it, it's like some conservative talk show. I don't even know. Wait, it's not in this article. It's like really, really reject, like that. What has happened, all right, let me find Okay Boomer fallout. Because the response from the older generation, me, has been very funny. To the millennials, to the youngsters. Like, they're very offended. Well, anyway, Andrew, I thought it was interesting. Maybe people would like to write in and tell us what they think about it. Because every major news, look at this, CNN weighs in on it. Okay, Boomer, okay, millennial, we need to talk. Boomer phrase says more about the kids than about us.
It is very funny how it's become international news.
Yeah, that's kind of it dividing generations. That's from NBC News. Like, it's very funny to me. I see one here. Somebody is say, kind of defending, like, hey, we had Woodstock. We had good music back then. Oh, it's such a funny conversation. And to me, it's just like, it's a very, very perennial conversation. The generations are always doing this. Somehow this has gone graphic and viral, and it's very funny to me. Like you said, that it's international news. Oh, golly. Okay, well, I think that's funny. And I'm mostly on the side of the teenagers. I guess that's not unusual for me.
No, you seemed, that's one of probably why you fit in so well at the high school, and you were a go-between between the parents, the administration, and the students. It's because you could associate yourself, you could associate freely with any group you wanted to, and everybody felt like you were on their side. You're a code switcher, just like you accuse me of being. Yeah,
and my kids are. I for sure. And it's because I genuinely like young people, but also I'm not. When they're stupid, right? I say that. I say it in my book. I say it in my stuff. Like, they generally did trust me. First, okay, here's the calendar of Mrs. Filholm in a school year. First, they hated me because they thought I was crazy and mean, and I really was very serious about things like tardies and late papers and all of it. Very mean. They hated me. They would say to me after they graduated, Mrs. Filholm, we tried to bring you down. They would say that to my husband, Mr. Filholm, we tried to bring her down. Then they would eventually like me. I always think it's just because I have an adolescent sense of humor and I like the same comedians they like. And then they thought we were friends. And then they would tell me stuff and I got intel. And that's right, I was kind of on their side. And lucky for them, I'm not their friend and I'm not cool and I'm a grown-up. And if I knew they were in trouble, I stepped in every time and got them in trouble. And they were often shocked to find out that I usually took the side of their parents, actually, when it was really, this goofiness, this TikTok videos and songs about hating the older generation. That's delightful and creative. Oh, yeah. Radio host Bob Lonsberry called it the N-word of ageism in a now deleted tweet, like really getting very hot and bothered by it, which cracks me up because that's literally why people do stuff to, it's really like the younger people are poking at the older people and hoping to get this response, and then they're getting it. It's like embarrassing older people. Just let them be idiots and know that they're actually being pretty funny and creative about it. Cool. I like that. But anyway, that's right. I do not, I'm not their friends, but I guess I'm a 50-year-old child still, 51. When old people say absurd things about how marijuana melts the brains of the youth, okay, boomer. See, I'm on the side of the youth on that one, too. That's funny.
Wait a minute. You're on the side of the youth on that one? Marijuana is not melting their brains is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, in their 20s. People in their 20s. I'm just saying I'm on the side of I don't think marijuana is the worst thing in the world. For 14-year-olds, fuck no. Not allowed. No, not until your brain has formed. But I'm just saying I don't think that marijuana is the enemy of the people. And maybe that's a boomer thing it. It's funny.
Well, so was some interesting conversation on another podcast we listened to, and they were talking about how boomers being all anti-marijuana, anti-vape, anti-whatever is kind of ironic because this is the generation of, peace-loving hippies and who came of age in, like, I don't know, the prime time, the heyday of drugs.
Yeah.
It's kind of ironic.
Yeah, I know. Right. Exactly right. So, it's a lot. I find it freaking funny. Andrew, this article continues to be funny. I'm looking at one in Vice right now, which is great because it has so many internal links, which cracks me up. But, right, like the...
And the tone of Vice is always funny.
It is funny. And they're, like, talking about... And they're breaking it down pretty well, right? So that Gen Z, like the young people, we'll say Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials... being called by our generation, for sure, narcissistic, sensitive, entitled, lazy, snowflakes, right? I mean, listen, I'm hosting a comedy show. Hey, in the next week, I am doing 2 different comedy shows where I'm getting paid money.
2?
Yeah.
So, okay, is Clean Comedy one of them?
Nope. That's a competition, and if you win it, you get the shot, you get to go into a final. I won't get there. And then you get to, like, compete to get paid gigs, openers during the Christmas season.
What are these 2 shows?
I'm hosting an open mic at a bar this Friday night, and then the following Friday I'm doing some kind of one-off pop-up event with a woman who asked me to do it, and I don't know the details yet, but it's in Golden, and there's a little bit of pay. Not enough pay. I'm just saying it's
pro, Mrs.
Well, it's starting to like not cost me money because part of the pay is a bar tab.
That's funny.
And I can share it with people who I convince to come.
Is it an unlimited bar tab, or
Nope.
are you capped at...
Nope, you're capped. You get part of the pay is like a check, and part of the pay is a bar tab. It's
free
very
beer.
funny. Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm doing, I'm trying to encourage people to come, which is part of the hustle when you're hosting an open... I'm guest hosting. It's a regular Friday night. The woman who normally hosts can't do it. She's double booked. She asked me to do it. Great. I'm honored. But the whole thing is you try to bring people there. You try to bring comics there, and you try to bring civilians. And one of the things that I am doing, first of all, I have a guy coming to videotape, and so everybody gets a free set, which is off. I go to mics for that reason, to get a good professional videotape of my set that you can use and learn from. And secondly, I've made those little bags of pretzels that I mentioned.
The crack pretzels.
The crack pretzels are to entice the open mic. So I'm going to say like free snacks for all of the comics. And I already have that post in mind, Andrew, which is, I know all y'all young people need participation trophies for shit because there is a competition at that one. Like the top 3 earn, I don't know what, free beer or something. It's a little competition show, but I know that everybody needs. So that is our understanding of the young people, is that you are the people who need participation trophies just to show up.
If you take some ranch dressing, dip powder, whatever, you put it on pretzels.
Yep.
That's enough to bring all of us poor millennials out of our parents' basements, out for the night. You just got to have some free food. That's
free
what
food.
It is.
It feels like it. I'm just doing it to mostly be funny because I'm known for carrying around bags of food with me on the comedy nights because I get hungry. Mostly I carry around bags of meat.
You should give them all $1 to put towards their student loans.
That would be good too, Andrew. That would be cute, actually. One guy gave away free joints for everybody who showed up to do comedy at a
That
club.
seems like it could get expensive.
I
quickly.
feel like that, and I'm wondering about that. And I don't know this person very well enough to know, like, does he have some insider? That seems like, is he independently wealthy? That seems very expensive.
We're not that far removed from Halloween. And I, just like you, I haven't been watching the news. It sounds like you've only been watching the news in regard to the OK Boomer phenomenon.
Yes.
But I didn't hear if there were any stories about people lacing the candy with drugs this year. And that's always it's always made me laugh. Because any drug doer will tell you that no, they're not going to put their drugs in candy and give it away for free.
Right.
They had to steal someone's television set to pay for those drugs. They're not just going to give it away.
Right? I know. I listened to 3 different podcasts during the Halloween season about like debunking myth kind of podcasts about Halloween urban legends, including apples and razor blades and apples and all of this. And of course, mostly there are a few examples of any such thing ever in the history of the United States of America. But the hype around it every year, and especially at different times, in the country, it was kind of interesting.
I lived in a nice upper middle class suburban neighborhood, and everyone lived in a house that mostly had the same floor plan as every other house. So there was not a single creative thinker in this neighborhood that was crazy enough to try to give someone dental floss or apples in my neighborhood. Everyone was giving out the same candy, except for the occasional house that has the king size bars.
Interesting. In your neighbor, okay, so that is the level
in my neighborhood, everyone went to Costco and bought the same bag of candy.
The same bag of candy, except for the extra people who gave king-sized.
That's right.
Holy shit. You didn't have a weirdo in your neighborhood giving out dental floss or sunflower seeds.
No, and I mean, my neighborhood was well regarded for this because kids would travel from all over Colorado to go trick-or-treating in my neighborhood.
They would. And there are those neighborhoods like that, and you lived in one of them. Wow, though. That's actually very funny. And so you had this idyllic... Okay, seriously, my boys, where they grew up, which is not a great neighborhood, but it's not as bad as the neighborhood I live in right now. It's not a shakedown street. Did not grow up in that kind of neighborhood, right? Like there was never, even on our little block where we mostly knew our neighbors, on Halloween, half the houses would be dark.
Yeah. I don't know what protocol is. I'm in an apartment building right now, and I don't think anyone goes trick-or-treating in an apartment building. I think you probably pack your kids up and you take them to the neighborhood I grew up in.
Exactly right.
But it seems like that's true kind of where my house is located. There's some young families there, but I don't think anyone's trick-or-treating.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Like you said, half the houses are dark.
Yeah, and then that's it. It's like you bundle them up and you go to a neighborhood like your neighborhood of origin.
That's so funny.
It is funny, and you notice that. I mean, right? Like you're right. I mean, neighborhoods are known for that. You see minivans full of kids go into a neighborhood and doing the thing. It's just such a weird tradition.
It is a weird tradition,
but I don't mind it. It just kind of seems passé in my experience. And this year was so cold on Halloween and dark. I mean, it had, right? Daylight savings happened right before, I think. It was so cold, and it was on a Thursday, right? I didn't get one trick-or-treater, and I thought we might get a few. My neighbors have said, in the past we get a few. But I think it was so bloody cold, and there were so many community things, trunk or treats and stuff like that, the weekend before and the weekend after, that I just think it was like, oh, golly, we're not going to go out. It was so cold.
Yeah, we've had some weird weather. Today, it's another one of those nice temperature swings. When I got on my motorcycle to ride over here, I think it was 35.
Yeah.
And when I arrived, it was 45.
Oh, nice.
That's a 10-degree swing in 20 minutes. That's pretty good.
Nice. That's really nice. I did this the other day where I left the house and thought, it's not that bad. But I had fired a kiln in my garage. And so it was, the kiln was mostly cooled down. So I didn't notice it was super warm in my garage. But I pulled out and my car said it was like, 37 degrees. And it was actually 10.
Ugh.
I know. And I didn't notice it because my car had been sitting in there with the kiln. See, when it's not 100 degrees, I go ahead and fire my kiln overnight with the car in there.
Mm-hmm.
But in the summer,
keep your car warm.
Yeah, it just felt like in the summer it was going to light things on fire.
You got some serious concerns going on right now at the atelier at the Dollhouse. Do you want to talk about that at all, or no?
Yeah, I had a leak. I don't think it's that serious a concern, but I noticed a leak in my ceiling. It was just a tiny little leak. Here's what happened. On the outside, there was a gutter on the outside of this little studio, and the gutter was not level. Anyway, I think what happened is that any water sat in that gutter, ice expands, it was not full of leaves or anything awful. Anyway, and it kind of just leaked. It wasn't sealed right. There's some janky shit. Anyway, so it's been, the level is wrong. The slope is wrong. The gutter was soaking through. So I have a board now that's kind of spongy and mildewy and moldy.
Yuck.
And then the insulation inside got wet, and then it was just dripping down in the sheetrock. Okay, it will not be the end of the world because I can fix this. It doesn't have to look pretty. It might be a matter of like putting on, seriously, a corrugated tin roof, like in the mountains. They do that. Why wouldn't I do that? It might be putting on some just new plywood and maybe some new shingles. It might be a matter of tar. Might be that I can plug up some crap. I removed the gutter myself, which was pretty badass, Andrew. That was the night that I reached out to several people and nobody could come help me. I mean, it was like Saturday night, I understand. But I was sitting here with a leak in the place that matters a great deal to me. So George and Tal came over the next day, investigated, checked it out, put a tarp over it for now. There will not be further harm done, but something's going to have to be done. It's a bummer.
That is frustrating.
Sure
especially
is.
Because, like you said, this is the one of the places you care about the most. And it's filled with all kinds of soft things that hold moisture because of your soundproofing.
This side over here, we're fine. And I'm not kidding. We've checked it.
The other side, you've got clay that's dry.
I know, but that's
I can't
fine.
imagine having water dripping in your drying clay is good.
Well, it just drips down the wall. It was like seriously a tiny little leak. The concern is actually, it's not that it's hurting stuff in here. I don't think it's going to flood or anything. It's a tiny drip. It just shouldn't be inside. Mm-hmm. And it did soak the sheetrock on the ceiling. The concern for me is like mold and like making this a death trap and that someday the roof will fall in. That would really suck. But I think we're okay. I think it is a matter of like a smaller adjustment. It's not like I need a whole new roof, but it bums me out and it actually makes me go, why didn't my inspector find that?
Yeah, roof leaks I think are hard.
Are they?
Because if you can imagine laying a roof down, you've got what's basically plywood with many layers of shingles over the top of it.
Many layers in this case.
Every time they nail a shingle to the roof, that's a hole in your roof.
This is what confuses me.
Right?
They don't do it anymore. They use glue.
They glue the shingles?
They sure do. They have glue. They have a backpack. My father worked on the technology of this. They have like a glue backpack, and it's a pressure release application. My father and his company worked on the product.
Well, I know
itself.
for a fact that there are roofing projects near me where you can still hear the ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. Yeah.
You're right. Maybe that's the tar paper.
Maybe some roofs are...
Yeah, you're probably right. I just know for a fact that they do this glue now. But I know, this is what I was thinking, Andrew. I mean, I was like, of course, laying there awake at night going, well, I could do this, I could do this. I go, but that drills another hole in it. That's where I'm saying that it might be a matter of some tar.
Makes me think of Merlin Mann's always talking about attack vectors. And each one of those little itty-bitty holes is a method of ingress for all that
moisture.
All that moisture.
Seems like it to me. Freaks me out.
I would not want to defend a roof with that many holes.
I know. It does. I think the deal is that then they cover it with tar, right? I know. Yeah. It's all very weird. And like part of me, I'm standing out there looking at it and I go, okay, all I really need is to build a parking structure over this structure. I don't know. It freaks me out. I need somebody who really, 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 truly knows what they're doing, who doesn't want to... I've asked your brother to come look at it because he knows about roofs, and I think I will do that. My sister also knows about roofs because she's in the insurance side of it, just for a thought. And then I just need to figure out what I need to do to mitigate this, to solve it for good. I don't necessarily need somebody who's going to do the cheapest, jankiest solution. I also don't need it to look beautiful. I need it to be functional. So I think I'm in a good position. We'll make it work, Andrew. But it was disturbing when I saw that. It kind of bummed me out, and it did not make me feel better. What's that?
It's the joys of homeownership. That's the thing when you're signing your when you're at the closing on your house and you're signing the papers. I never think of, or I would never think of, what about that one day when the squirrel gets into the attic, or there's a roof leak, or the water heater goes out.
Bathtub.
Right. You know, there's so many downsides.
Well, I know. And people have been saying to me lately, like, why did you do that? You should have just bought an apartment. And I'm still going, no, because you know what? I still love it. The hundreds of tomatoes that I harvest this summer, for some reason, are really carrying me through this season of mice and leaky roofs. I'm not kidding.
Still in love with the Dollhouse.
Still in love with the Dollhouse.
It's still a wonderful place to be.
And when it did bump me though on Saturday night when I was trying to get people like, can you come over and look at this like now? Because snow is coming tomorrow. And people were kind of like, no, I'll come Monday. I mean, I don't blame them, but I was, like, I'm freaking out. And what I didn't like is that people said, well, at least several people said this, and I know they meant it well in their hearts. Well, at least it was in your house. It wasn't in your house. And I go,
It's almost worse for you.
It's worse for me. Out here is where I spend more of my time, especially lately. And literally, this is the place I'm going to try to make my money. So I've been recording that audiobook, like I said, really, I'm like, the studio matters more to me than the house.
Well, it's also frustrating in moments like this where you've got a a crisis, a minor crisis, but a crisis nonetheless. And the person on the other end deals with this all day, like the exterminator. They're always getting calls from the frantic lady who's got 3 mice in her bathtub, and they can't be bothered because your once in a lifetime big event is there every day, and they're like, yeah,
exactly.
We'll put you in line. You're in the queue,
including like your brother, right? Like, I have a roof problem. It's my first roof problem. It's in my dollhouse, and he's like, yeah, probably sometime Monday. You'll be fine. And I am fine. And a tarp over it for the weekend was a smart thing to do. Well, week now. It's been almost a week. It's fine. We'll leave it there for a while. I think we're going to be just fine, Andrew. But it was like, oh, no. And some sheetrock came down in my hand, which you'll see the hole in the ceiling. At this point, I'm grateful for that hole in the ceiling because it means things will get dry. I am seriously paranoid about mold in a roof. And if you may remember why,
you looked at a house with
listeners
with
who know us from way back, that was the death house that I first put an offer on was, there is mold in this roof that is...
The
and I went,
inspection that saved you.
The inspection that saved me. And it wasn't the same inspector who looked at this house. And I'm not kidding. I think the first guy was so much more... Whatever.
I don't know that the inspector would have caught the roof leak in the atelier. Maybe they would.
I just think that maybe your brother or my sister would have gone, that roof looks a little janky.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few other things, to tell you the truth. The pipes under my bathroom sink, I had the handyman plumber redo them because he was like, this is real weird. Has this done this to you? Da, da, da. He was convinced it was like done badly and was going to... cause a problem at some point. Mm-hmm. And that was the kind of thing that
it was covered in apprentice marks.
It was covered in brother-in-law who did it for them marks. And this is what I have found out. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, whatever. I can't be mad at the inspector. Andrew, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. I have this little leak. It bummed me out. It is way less disturbing than the mice. I'll tell you that.
That is funny how those occupy different spaces in the brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
On the face of it, mice, it both comes down to holes in the house. The roof leak is holes in the roof. The mice is holes in the, I don't know.
But you're saying water and weather could be more long-term damaging than a few little mice, but
it's funny how the reaction to those two situations is different.
Update on Shakedown Street. A neighbor came over whom I've never met. I think they're new renters across the street. Rang my doorbell, asked if my doorbell had recorded an incident the evening before, morning, 3 a.m. Their car got broken into. And I was like, oh, no, that's terrible. Nope, my camera didn't catch it. It's a little off the view. Fine. Then I was talking to this guy, Andrew, was anything stolen out of the car? Yeah, our gun. Oh, it wasn't locked.
The car wasn't locked?
Yeah, they left a gun in their car, and it wasn't locked on Shakedown Street. I had a friend come over for 6 hours one day. Like, we were just hanging out, eating dinner, hanging out. And in his car was like, his computer and his sports equipment and shit. And I said, please bring it inside. I mean, I'm not kidding. Don't leave valuables out there on the street, We know that you know where you live. And by the way, most neighborhoods in Denver have this phenomenon of people going and flipping your car. I mean, checking for open car doors. I mean, it's a known thing.
Sure, they're just walking down the street. Yep. They're gonna pull on the handle,
and they're gonna pick anything out of there that really loose change, whatever. So that's a known thing in any neighborhood. Why? Oh, why? Oh, why? I mean, I honestly didn't feel at that point like I wanted to help the guy. Like, someone stole a gun out of your car on my block, and you didn't have it locked. Oh.
What are you doing? You're putting us all at risk here.
Putting us all at risk. Like, that made me go, oh, brr. I never met the guy before, and I'm not kidding. I was kind of like, no, my video didn't seem to record it. And then I was like, well, maybe I can look archival, maybe if I look back. And I couldn't quite figure out the way to just pull up a specific time on that camera. Mm-hmm. And then when he told me those things, I lost interest in helping him very much more. I'm not kidding. Like, honestly, there's a certain amount of, like, where you live. I do have the security guy. He called me yesterday, and I missed his call. He returned my call. My camera in the alley.
Mm-hmm. It didn't beep at me today.
Exactly, and that's my point. And it's supposed to be on a 10-second linger. The other day, I was in here recording my audiobook, and it alerts me when there's motion in the alley, but it's not sending the alarm. Because I watched on the camera, sitting right here where I'm sitting, a guy go through my garbage very carefully for half an hour. And I realized I could totally talk to him from here. I don't want to actually freak him out. I want him to put the garbage back. He did a very nice job. He got what he needed out of it, and it was not strewn all over. But I went, why is my alarm not going off? So I've got the guy, he called me back yesterday. I'll call as soon as we hang up today. That is one adulting phone call that I will make today, Andrew. That's easier than talking about health insurance.
I hate it. I've been dreading that call for a while
Isn't it dumb?
now.
I don't know why. It's not that hard.
No, it's not.
It's adulting. It's gross. That was a real boring episode, wasn't it?
It was. The show will never air. But you know what? We have hit time. If we don't come up with something funny, there's not going to be a single interesting thing in this.
Really?
episode.
Okay, millennial. I mean, that was a
millennial.
cool
Okay,
conversation.
boomer. You say you're not a boomer, but I think for all intents and purposes, you are.
Okay, age-wise, maybe, Andrew, but like
Right.
quality-wise,
you can't trust
Gen Z
anybody
is
over
my-
30, and you are most certainly over 30.
I know. Dude, but no, Gen X, you have to understand, like, I am so totally a product of my generation where we absolutely graduated college and went, do you want fries with that? I mean, we absolutely had a... John Roderick talks about it in this way, but sort of different than the boomers in my exact age. We showed up to the sexual revolution with our, finery on, like, here we are of age now. Welcome to AIDS. That defines my generation much more than the boomers. I mean, I lived through that. It doesn't matter. It's a distinction.
Nuclear war and everything.
Correct. Yeah. The day after. We all watched The Day After in 7th grade, and it we were kids versus my parents watching it. So again, the distinction does not matter. I will, of course, claim that I'm on the old end of this every time. I call myself old. I don't care. Technically, I'm not a boomer, but I don't take offense at the insult. I think it's very funny and appropriate. If you're sitting there, literally, I hope it is being used by middle school kids when their parents are going, oh my God, we've talked about this a little bit. I have so much recently seen adults telling their kids, the way I did this, the way and the kids rolling their frickin' eyes and being like, actually suspect if it's your personal experience. You know nothing, right? I sort of think that if parents are going, hey, kid, middle school kid of mine, buddy boy, here's how you're going to get into the best college. Here's how I did it. I did this and this and this, and I know how it works. They're going to look at them and go, okay, boomer, you don't even get it. That's not, college is suspect nowadays.
Back when you were a kid, people could afford to go to college.
Yeah, and maybe even like back when you were a kid, college was relevant. Hey, we need skills
college
today.
Degree mattered.
Right. Right? Like, I get the retort to the older generation, and I kind of like it. And I assume that there are 7th grade boys saying that to their moms. Okay, boomer. Awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. What I truly find funny is the boomer or older generation response really having their feelings hurt. And that, again, that's where it becomes like a memeable, because then the young people, the Gen X, the Gen Y, the millennials, the whatever the
those damn kids.
Kids, what those damn kids are doing with it is very, very funny to me. And then the like meta, the meme on top of a meme culture where they are responding to the boomers being so outraged is really funny, and it's clever. They're doing really clever little things. I don't really want to spend time with the future of people who do nothing but watch TikTok all day long, but it's funny.
Confession, while you were talking about TikTok, I had to go look it up, and it seems to me, near as I can tell, it's what Vine used to be.
It's Vine. There's something.
Is there anything different?
There's something different, and there's still, I think, the sentiment of, Vine. But yeah, TikTok is Vine.
Vine.
You had to
the
look
good old
it up.
days.
Right. I think it is. The good old days. The Vine was so funny. Okay, well, you had to look it up. I only know about TikTok because of a podcast I listen to.
Yeah.
No, and because
probably one of those millennial podcasts you like.
No, I don't. It was actually
No, I like nice, age-appropriate.
I do. I listen to all the
podcasts.
white men podcasts, all the middle-aged white men podcasts. No, you know what the truth is, right? How do I know about crap like that? Because I'm out every single night. Yeah, I'm out on the streets.
You're collecting research.
I am out on the streets with people
trying to stay relevant.
Too young, and they are funny. I have some pictures. You probably saw my Instagram. There was a night this week that I was out doing. I did 4 sets in one night, Andrew. I did
Good
4
Lord.
sets. It was awesome.
Go to bed.
I know. That wasn't even that late a night, really. Yeah, it was. Where was the fourth one? Oh yeah, it was late. It was Lions Lair at 1 a.m. But there was one mic that had nobody there. It was literally 6 of us comics. And then it grew and some people came and then some audience members came. They let me go up and do a second set there. They actually asked me to because Lisa, now there's audience. And then I walked them. I walked the audience.
What does that mean?
They got up and left in the middle of my set about dicks. So I actually think I made one of them uncomfortable because this man put his face down. The other man was real into it and all the other comics were like, Lisa, he wants to go home with you. He's coming back. His friend made him leave. And I'm like, okay, I walked him. Anyway, it felt again like sort of summer camp. Like we were just sitting there, all of us like, well, let's go ahead and tell our jokes to each other. It's better than not telling the jokes. You just got to say it. And there's a certain amount of fun playing with people who've already heard this. So we're going to do it funny, right? Making your friends laugh. There is a certain value of that. So I was up on my little booth in this dumb restaurant trying to take a picture of just the boys and me, like the 6 of us here. It was really like, oh, look at us on this funny, chilly night. And then behind me, it was like having my teenage sons. It's like mommy's just trying to take a nice picture and document the moment. And they had a plate of churros and they were doing every disgusting thing with the churros. It was amazing to me how quickly they did it. Like I would try to, it was exactly like having Augie and George. George had the talent of being able to flip me off in every photo I ever took. And Augie had the superpower of being able to drop a smile or a genuine laugh that he was doing. If he saw me train the camera or my phone on him, he had this superpower in his
scowl.
Instant scowl, like so professionally good at it that it would crack me up harder. So it was like that. It was very funny. Like these boys behind me, I was like, you guys, I'm really just trying to get a picture of our little night out here because you're being real nice friends to me and stuff. And no, they had to do foul things with churros in the background.
That's what you get when you hang out with comics.
And I love them. Yeah. I know. That's what I know about TikTok anyway. All right. Well, when we get offline here, you're going to have to show me how to get health insurance because you're the adult here.
Yuck.
All right. Well, not much ruckus brought Andrew.
Next time.
Okay. Bye, Andrew.
Goodbye, Mrs. Filholm.
Is it really that bad?